I want to write a poem in a clear language. This will be worth, I think, a glass of good wine. Or as Gonzalo Baseo wrote, un vaso de buen vino, I think it was. It's the first poem ever in modern day Spanish. And it was written by a monk from Rioja. We're talking about Rioja today. And it's the first time anybody wrote Spanish was about Rioja wine. Well, we think so, because he came from a monastery. That was in the 13th century, and I learned this. Didn't dig out this research myself. Crikey, I don't do the hard work. In this brilliant book by my friend Sarah Jane Evans. It's a great series of books, these. This is the wines of northern Spain. And it was in here. It was in the history. So it's not just the wines of Rioja. There's Galicia and Castilla y León, Rioja, Ribera del Duero, and various other spots, Asturias and the Cantabrian coast. If you're a big fan of Spanish wine, and so many of us are, get one of these. It is brilliant. Rioja Day today. What are we going to start with? Abel Mendoza Rioja, white Rioja. Now, this is not sort of cheap white Rioja. This is £25 at Noble Green Wines, plus other assorted stockists. I think it comes from my friends at Alliance Wines up in Scotland, who sort of distribute it. So I'm sure you could get in touch with Alliance and they'll perhaps find somebody nearby. This is barrel fermented white Viura. And Viura, it was Amelia who sort of got me onto this. She sort of said, if you like Chardonnay, but you want to move into something slightly different, not necessarily as buttery and so on, jump into white Viura, and it's a very good tip. Everything's very integrated. So it similarly has that weight and that structure of Chardonnay. Anyway, I'm going to have a bit of a taste. It's made by a guy called Abel Mendoza. That's his name. A very self-effacing winemaker, and his wife, Marita, I can't remember exactly. It's beautifully ripe and rich, slightly peachy. You get the wood integration. Now, a couple of people asked about this. I think we possibly touched on it before. This difference between oak aging and oak fermentation. So this is been fermented in oak, and then a little bit of extra time. I think I've even got some notes here. We don't do a lot of very techie notes, really, do we? But on this case, we can go and have a quick peek. It, what does it say here? It spends 5 months in French oak, and it's all brand new, which means that you do get quite a bit of a vanilla character, because that's very associated with brand new oak. And it's a little bit smoky, and there's sort of coconut touches and so on. Now, I'm coming out with all these words. Here is a top tip. This I sort of printed off. This is a free thing. You don't need to buy this. It's the Aromas and Flavours Aid Memoir, which I've sort of paginated and printed off into a little booklet by Tom Stevenson. When you get this, go to winepages.com. I think it's wine-pages.com. Tom Canavan's brilliant website. Hello, Tom, if you're watching. It's been far too long. Tom's a good old friend of mine. And some years ago, he posted this thing by his friend Tom Stevenson, great sparkling wine judge, and it's Aromas and Flavours, and it's a mind-jogging list. And what you do is you sort of go through and you go and find something. So I was coming up with oaky notes then, wasn't I? Let's have a peek here. What have we got? Coconut, one of the things I just came up with. And it tells you that it's called Noce di Coco in Italian, and Kuxnuss in German, apparently. And then it says coconut aroma, so prevalent in American oak, derives from so-called whiskey lactones found in all types of oak. Fermentation lactone, and then there's a sort of very complicated thing, and non-lactone has strong coconut aromas, and it tells you the chemicals that give you those aromas. And sometimes you're not quite sure, oh, what is that? And you flip through. This also has hay as one of its things. This aroma could be described as unclean. It's not in this case, but certainly does strip focus away from fruit. It's not a fruit-led wine. This is something that's got a bit more interest, sort of herbaceous, and it tells you what the hay thing is. So go and visit winepages.com, and you'll go and get some. So what else have we got in here? It is really fresh and minerally. This is a really nice, smart white wine for the summer. Food-led. It's not maybe a drinking on a veranda kind of wine. But if you quite like white Burgundy, don't we all? this is an interesting area to go and explore, are these smarter white Riojas, because I think you'll be surprised. You may be thinking, oh yeah, I've had white Rioja before and it's like sucking a match. It's really, that's old-fashioned style, you know, old Marqués de Murrieta, and Igai. That Igai was always one as well. And it's nice if you like that kind of thing. There is more fruit to this. Oh, I like that. And these were a bit of a surprise because they all come from different merchants. So I wasn't quite sure what I was going to pick up, and that is a real treat. Somebody's going to enjoy that very much. Now, today's good cause, I'm actually going to hand over now to Jay Rayner to explain today's good cause.
So I'm Jay Rayner, and I'm a patron of The Food Chain, a small but vital charity giving nutritional advice and support to people with HIV. We are in crisis and we could really do with your help. In normal times, we're supporting maybe 40 or 50 ill people who need nutritional support while they get back on their feet. Well, in the midst of this crisis, we're now supporting over 300 households. Our grocery bill has gone from £3,000 a month to £14,000 a month. And the vast majority of those referrals have come directly from the NHS, but we get no NHS funding. We need money to enable us to carry on buying the grocery packages which provide short-term support for people in need. There's a donation link with this. If you can give, please do give, and then the food chain can carry on doing its vital work. Thank you.
So head to foodchain.org.uk and check out brilliant charity. Thank you very much indeed to Charlotte for going and flagging that one up. It's a good cause to go and have today. What we'll have, I think we go and have links to our good causes in our newsletter, plus all the information about these. So go and sign up for the newsletter. Well, not right now, because you'll miss the rest of this show, but after this show, go and visit our website. So go to thewineshow.com and sign up for the newsletter. We have all sorts of fun tips. We have fun putting it together, and hopefully you will enjoy reading it. I know you'll enjoy reading it. Our next wine. I am a slave to Garnacha. There is an International Garnacha Day, I think is it in October, something like that. It's towards the end of the year. There's this perennially underrated grape variety, and yet it is really one of the sort of classics. But I think because it's a bit more pliable than Syrah Shiraz, and it's not quite so peppery defined, people get, yeah, it's a bit sort of, it's seen as being light entertainment rather than serious opera. It's serious stuff. Now, this does not get produced every year. Tobelos, Garnacha, if I pronounced that right, Tobelos, 2016. It's only made in really good years. It comes from 3 quite specific small plots. And we'll have a swirl around. And it's because they're looking for some freshness in this wine. And it does have that freshness. Grenache can have a tendency to be a bit wallowing. It gets a bit floppy. Years ago, I once went to Australia, and there was these big vines, and I remember this Australian viticulturalist said that Garnacha was like your English public school boys. I said, what do you mean? He said, oh, it gets sort of floppy-haired and lazy. He had the sort of idea that English foppish public school boys had sort of floppy hair and they didn't do very much. Not that far wrong, actually. And that with Grenache, you needed to sort of be firm with it and send it to military school. Otherwise, it just slightly got out of hand. There's an illusion for you. This is all Rioja, but you'll often get lots of Tempranillo in Rioja. That's what you learn on your course. This has this juicy cherry plum character and a tang that comes through from Grenache, and it makes for, it's still Rioja, but not as we know it, if you get what I mean. Really interesting stuff, and there's more and more of this that's coming through. I'll tell you where it's from. It's from Van Neuf, and it is £18.95, and it's really delicious. It's just different and chunky. You'd still have this with roast lamb. You could have this. The first time I went to Rioja, they ended up giving me, it was sort of tripe. I remember being bilious the whole time. And this would go very well with tripe. Light on the stomach. That's the old joke about tripe, isn't it? Excuse me. It's because light is another word for tripe. I've got some questions down here. Let's have a quick question. Hello, Nancy in New York. Hello, Nancy. I love tuning into the show when I finish work. Can you give any advice on how to read wine labels? I find them a little bit overwhelming. You're absolutely right. Okay, should we take this one? Here's some really, really general basic stuff. On the whole, in Europe, the name of the wine will be where it comes from. In the rest of the world, it'll sort of lead with what the grape variety is. You might both have the name of the producer. Europe, the most important thing, you can actually hear, this is marginally larger Rioja than Viura, probably by law, definitely by law, because we tend to focus on where it comes from rather than what it's made from. Beyond that, oh my goodness, it's a nightmare. Get into German labels, and then everything just seems much, much easier. All the information is there. I tell you what you could do. This is what I do. Buy a copy of Jancis Robinson's 24-Hour Wine Expert. I'll put a picture of what it looks like up on screen, because I don't have it to hand. I've got 2 copies downstairs. This is a brilliant, short, punchy, great guide that will just give you what you need to know to kind of get into wine. And it'll go and dissect labels in different parts of the world. It's too much really for me to go and do it all just now. But that's a good sort of start. That gives you a sort of top tip. What else have we got here? So here we've got, this actually unusually starts with Grenache as being the main thing. It says Rioja in much smaller letters, so that's me hoist by my own petard. And the main thing is Tobelos, which is the person who produces it. Let's have a look at this fella here. Right, now, talk about this, Rioja Vega. Rioja, this is a Reserva 2014. So, Rioja Vega, producer. Rioja is what they make, confusingly. It's also half the same as the other name. It is a Reserva which relates to how it's been aged in both barrels and bottle. And there's the vintage 2014. Should we have a try? After that exhausting and frankly not wildly illuminating detour. This is from House of Townend. £16.49. So in Rioja, we have Joven, young Riojas, no oak aging. Crianza, which does have aging, but I can't remember all the details now. Reserva and Gran Reserva. The point about Rioja is that rather than releasing everything and then you have to work out how long you wait till you drink it, they release it when it's ready for drinking. So Reservas are better wines than Crianzas that have had a bit more time in oak and bottles so that they're more mature and ready to drink. Gran Reserva is even more time. It's sort of 3 years plus an extra couple in bottles, at least 5 years old. I can't remember. All the WSET students now shouting, going, you ought to know this stuff, Joe. I know I should, but I didn't double check before it came on. And because of that, in contrast to this Garnacha, this is slightly less driven on fruit. It's more driven on sort of woody secondary notes, things like tobacco and spice and church pews. It's a bit more herbal, woodlandy. It's slightly like going in an antiques shop, if that makes sense, in a really nice way, not in a musty way, in a sort of nice polished furniture sort of way, because it's spent more time in a barrel. And it's had longer to sort of evolve. So, you know, we've got a 2016 here, 2014 there. And it's ready when I have a taste. To soften up those tannins. If they hadn't had all that, it would be too aggressive, harsh, and firm. And that's the genius of Rioja. And that's one of the reasons we all love it so much, is because it's released when it's ready to drink. Right, a couple more questions, which I'll try to do. Ollie, in Melbourne, love the show, thank you very much. Does the size of the bottle make a difference to the aging of the wine? Would a Magnum age at a slower rate than the same wine in a 750ml bottle? Yes. Short answer to that, absolutely it does. Magnums and double Magnums are always fabulous and worth saving for longer. Really massive ones. I've got this, let's have a look, pull this fella down here. This is 6 litres, slightly more novelty act. I mean, you can, and you will, but Magnums and double Magnums really are the things that you want to go for aging bottles. And if you have a nice double Magnum, glorious for a party. I recommend very much going in and drinking these. Look up, there's a friend of mine has a business called the Magnum Company, and that's all he sells. George, hello, the Magnum Company, only sells Magnums, although actually during lockdown he's been selling mini Magnums, which are apparently something called bottles. Maybe it'll take off, who knows. But you're absolutely right. And also they're more fun to drink. That's why we had that at my birthday party last year. This is Jordan. Jordan says, I've read about a few wineries and winemakers who play music to their vineyards and wineries. Is there any evidence that musical vibrations have an effect on wine? Somatics. Series 1, we went to Montes who do that. Loads do. You know what? Who knows? I mean, The science says no, absolutely not. The sort of pseudoscience says yes, very much so. But on the whole, I think if you're that fussed that you're prepared to play music to your vines and wines, you're probably going to look after them very well. So the wines, I suspect, will be better. And certainly I really like a lot of the wines that have had music played to them, like the ones at Montes who we visited. Angela, I love bold reds from Puglia and Sicily. Good choice. But I'd like to find a white for summer. I like Moscato, but it's too sweet for everyday drinking. Any ideas? Ooh, yeah. These are quite bold. I tell you what, we had an Edelsvicker in the last episode from Avery's, and that just takes some of the edge off it. I wonder whether it's not so much the sweetness as the ripeness that you'd like as well. I mean, if you are liking sort of riper styles of wine, have a go at things like Catarato and Fiano from Sicily, particularly. There's some really interesting wines there. Or Greco di Tufo, which is also often from Campania and Basilicata. So maybe you're enjoying the right weight of some of those wines. And Melissa Ann, after rewatching, thank you very much for rewatching Series 2, Episode 2, I've become curious about sake. Can you recommend a sake for a first-time taster? I can. It's made by Hidehiko Matsumatsu and Richie Horton. Now, Hidehiko is a hip-hop DJ and sake producer, and we visited him at Suhari Brewery. It was Matsu, I think that's the brand name, actually, Suhari. Matsumatsu in just outside Kyoto. And they've come up with a range of wines, a range of sakes called Enter Sake. And they're really good. And they will take you into the styles. So rather than being one producer producing across their rice polishing ratios, what they do is they take you to different areas. It's kind of hard to explain, but go and get into Enter Sake by Richie Horton. Also, if you go visit the website for Enter Sake, they do loads of music stuff because they're both DJs. So they had a pop-up bar in Ibiza, I think, and so you can taste sake whilst listening to, I don't know, Tribe Called Quest albums. I seem to remember that was what Hidehiko had loads of when we visited him. That's brilliant. Right, go and visit our charity of the day, foodchain.org.uk. Jay, thank you very much indeed for putting us onto that. It's a great charity. Go and visit. Now, we've got 3 people. Noble Green Wines, Van Neuf, House of Townend up in Yorkshire. Visit these bits and sign up for our newsletter. There's all sorts of interesting stuff that comes out. So go to thewineshow.com and get signed up. And I will see you with a rosé special on Wednesday.